So podcasting as a musician, does it bother you at all if you show up and somebody's got like their audio's a little fucked up or like your mic, or are you just good to go?
No, I don't care, dude. Tech shit's hard. And it's definitely the biggest hole in my game. I suck at tech stuff.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Recording at a studio at your house, how much have you had to learn on that though?
I have learned as little as possible. Like I know just enough to do my job. Like, and actually not even, dude. Like Carl set presets for me for like reverbs that I like. So he's like set up a preset chain for me. I don't know how to do any of that shit. So I know how to record a stem. I know how to export it. I know how to send it, which is usually what I'm doing anyway. Mm-hmm. But like I could not make a record by myself.
Interesting. Has that always been your approach, is to like just do what you're good at and then have other people do their thing? Yeah,
because I just don't, man, my attention span's really shitty. And like, especially during COVID, I was like, I'm going to do it, dude. I'm going to learn how to make beats. And once you start diving into that whole Pro Tools and like Logic, just all of it, I'm like, bro, I don't have the attention span to watch a 7-minute YouTube video to make one thing sound how I want it to make. So yeah, I'm a big, like, I suck at working on cars, so I'm not going to learn how to fix a car. I'll just pay a guy that knows how to fix a car, dude. I'll just delegate that to someone that's good at it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I had to have that conversation with my little brother one day. I was like, you know, he's a gearhead big time. And he was struggling with school and doing all that kind of stuff. And he was having a conversation one day. He's like, man, I just feel like I'm dumb. And I was like, hey, dude, if we were to, it's like trying to judge an elephant on how well it can climb a tree. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, if we were to pop up an engine right now, or like pop a hood on a car right now, I'd be like, yeah, there's an engine in there. So I don't know why it's not running. Yeah. And I would look like a dumbass if that's how we're like judging this. So I think it's all relative. You have to be able to keep people in their zone of genius.
Yeah, 100%. And I know, like, I would say the best musician I've ever met in my entire life is Eric Olson. He's like prodigy. He's made a handful of beats for me. He's just different, dude, and he's got a touch of the tism for sure. But like, we were at his studio one night and he had showed me these 2 beats and he exported them to me. I wrote my verses on the drive home and then tracked them and sent them to him. And he was like, what the fuck? Like, I just was with you like 8 minutes ago. When did you write it? I was like, on the drive. And he's just like, that. To him, that was like the craziest thing ever. I'm like, dude, I just watched you build one of the nastiest beats ever in like 19 minutes. So, you know, everyone's got a skill set. It's like,
when did you figure out that that writing was part of your skill set?
Man, I just always thought words were so cool. And and growing up listening to hip hop, like the coolest part for me was always, you know, like catching clever shit, like, or shit that I would hear a bunch of times. And then when I would have the aha, like there's this Method Man line where he's like, now they're going front, like my joints are on proactive and they just don't bump. Like forever, I was just like, oh, it sounded good. And then it hit me it's like, oh, acne cream bumps, like, holy shit, you know? So I just always lived for that. And then I've always really been a fan of like Malcolm X, Farrakhan, just people that can speak really well. I just always have been really fascinated with words, man, and how powerful they can be.
Was there ever a time where you decided like, okay, I'm fascinated with these words, I'm going to try my hand at it? Or did those 2 things kind of happen at the same time?
Yeah, I started writing shit down like so young. I remember it started, I would hear stuff that I liked. I would hear couplets that I liked and just write them down. And then I started trying to write my own shit, and then freestyle battles started happening. So like I would like secretly write cool shit and memorize it. So when I was freestyling, I could bust it out and make it seem like I just came up with it on the spot, you know? Yeah, no, they happened about the same time for sure.
That's it's interesting to me thinking about growing up in school and how many people probably figure out they're good at writing because they get forced into it. Mm-hmm. And that was always my favorite subject, was I loved reading and writing. Mm-hmm. And I wrote some of my favorite stuff because it was an assignment, right? And I didn't realize what kind of a blessing some of the teachers were giving me by being like, hey, here's a prompt, go write about this. But I feel like it's really fallen off for me since school because there's nobody telling me to write now. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious if you ever had any ebbs and flows of like writing a lot, having it fall off, or if it's just been a constant.
Yeah, I think I go through seasons. I'm definitely on way more than I'm off, but like, dude, I go through seasons where I knock out 9 verses in a day and do that like pretty consistently for months. And then something will happen where I just like, I don't feel like it for a while. And I learned pretty early to not force that. Like if I don't feel like playing guitar, I don't feel like writing, if I try to make myself do it, I'm going to make dumb shit. So it's like, I trust it has yet to never come back. So I just trust that it's always going to come back. And yeah, when I'm in those seasons now where I don't feel like it, then I don't make myself. Like,
did you ever white knuckle it where it's like, I got to do this. This is my livelihood.
Yeah. When I was doing the like 2 singles a day or a single every 2 weeks, whatever it was, it started getting there. It started getting there for sure. Where I was just like, we have guys in fight camps and I'm like, just trying to squeeze a lot of stuff into my day. I'm like, I don't have time to work on music today. So it's like, I would force myself to do it. And not to toot my own horn, but even forcing it, bro, I could write some dope shit, but it's like, it's not up to par for me. So it's like, yeah, I have tracks and tracks on my computer that I'll probably never release that were just like exercises where I was just like, no, you said a verse every day for a year, so you have to do it today. But yeah, not anymore. I'm in a season right now too where like, I don't know, good songs come out because I'm not forcing it. Mm-hmm. I'll pick up a guitar and start doodling, and then it's like the channel opens for me for 30 minutes. It's like, I just trust that it'll always happen.
Is it harder for the good stuff to happen when you're constantly in that mode of like, I'm doing it because I have to?
Yeah, I think it starts to get diluted. It's just like, there's only so much in the well, and sometimes you got to let it rain and shit like that so that well can replenish. If you're just pulling, you end up, God, I hate talking shit, man, but you end up like Zach Bryan. Like, that's cool. You made a fucking record with 48 songs on it, but 47 of them sound the exact same, dog.
Yeah.
And they're about the same shit. I just don't want to do that. It's of no interest to me to redundantly put out shit that's the same, so it's like, I'd rather let it rain, go through some shit, let that well get back up.
What does letting it rain look like for you?
Oh man, I'm a mess. So I'll always end up in a season, like I'll always end up going through something. I'm an overthinker by nature. I'm in a constant push and pull with my career and my role in it and my relationship to it and other people's relationship to it. Personal relationships ebb and flow. So I feel like there's just, if I stay away for a couple weeks, it's like my brain has been marinating in a lot of shit, so it's like, yeah. And sometimes I'll get rocked, like I got rocked in Australia, man. For whatever reason, my spirit and brain were like, I'm done touring. I want to go home. I don't want to play shows anymore. It's like, well, sorry, bub, there's 4 left, Yeah. And that is, and it's funny too, because there's also a voice in my head that's like, oh, poor baby, you got to travel the world and play music. Like, that voice is real too. But it's also like, my goal has always been freedom. Not money, not fame, not freedom. I've been in search of ultimate freedom since I was a young man. And that's not freedom to me. Freedom to me is I don't feel like doing this, so I'm going to get on a motorcycle and leave now.
Yeah.
So it's like, come to grips with that. And then it's also like, well, you got to be a good man. You made these agreements. People bought tickets and people are here to see you. So you got to go show up, dummy. So yeah, that.
Yeah, there's that. So many people, that's their daily reality. It's one thing when that's a couple nights a year, but fuck, what's the quote? Most men lead lives of quiet desperation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what's so fucked up, is because that's what I tell myself. I'm like, bro, you used to have to pour concrete and shit. Yeah. Like, you got to go sing for 90 minutes. But dude, I'm a wild person by nature. And when I feel restricted or told what to do or told what not to do, it gets me itchy, dude. It gets me real itchy, and I want to start scratching. And Then I get in this dark place where I'm like, I don't care about anyone else's fucking reality. I'm in mine. And mine says I don't want to do this, so I'm out. I don't care. And I don't care what the repercussions are either. There's like this little fire starting shit head in me. Yeah. That's like, burn this shit to the ground, bro. We'll figure it out later. It'll be a cool record, you know? Yeah.
There's got to be times that that's been good and bad, though. Like, I'd imagine that voice is probably what allowed you to, I mean, you've lived on a lot of different fringes of society throughout your journey, and I'd imagine that that's probably been a good thing in some ways.
Yeah, and I think, you know, my relationship with music is very much like a romantic relationship. It's a very long-term marriage where I go through things where I don't understand it and I don't want to talk to it and I don't want to be with it. You know, I need a break from you. And then, you know, luckily my manager is like, he knows me so well after a decade of working together. I'm always like, I need like 4 months off. And he's like, we're going to give you 2 because in 3 weeks you're going to call me and be like, hey dude, I'm more in love with playing than I ever have been. I really want to go out and share this stuff with people. So it's like, we'll split the difference. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I'll give you half.
Because that's what happens, you know? It's like, I love being home. I love my life at home so much. And I could live a perfectly fulfilled life not having to leave Billings, Montana. I love it. But I also, after about a month, bro, I start being like, fuck, I miss playing. I miss it, you know? And then I get to a place where I do it too much. And then I'm like, I just want to go home, you know? So it's just like a marriage.
What do you think are some of like the biggest misconceptions that people who haven't seen the behind the scenes of that think when it comes to like, you know, we expect you're a creative. This should always fill your cup.
I think the biggest two are people think like, oh, you're traveling. You've seen so many places. I've seen a lot of neighborhoods of places, and I've seen pretty much, I think, every Love's truck stop in the country. Yeah. But yeah, I think people forget that while I'm on the road, life is also happening, you know? My son may call me and tell me how much he misses me and doesn't understand why I can't come home. And well, you're the boss. What do you mean you can't? I'm telling you, I miss you. I want you to come home. That might happen 30 minutes before a show. So it's like, or, you know, in the case of my ex-wife, you know, we used to fight a lot when I was on the road, and it was like, it's really hard sometimes. I am a professional and I take a great pride in what I do. So I learned how to like, fuck you, dude. These people all paid money to come see you tonight, so you go put it out for them. Because I will every time. Doesn't matter what's going on in my life, I will. But I think they think that, you know, like, oh, well, this is your favorite thing, so you should want to do it all the time. And it's like, I like having sex too, dude, but I can't do it hours a day. Yeah. You know what I mean? It would get old.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that I found when we went on tour was like, you know, you see the movie side of it, right? Where it's, you know, the show is glamorous and then you're hanging out on the bus afterwards with people, and then like you go to the next city and you just restart all again. But I mean, you guys have done months on end before, and I was 10 days in going like, this is the craziest like Groundhog's Day thing ever, where every day is kind of the same. Mm-hmm. And your world is this Groundhog's Day where it's like, you know, you wake up, you drive a little ways, you get to the venue, you do all the shit and it restarts. But then you come back a little while later and everyone else's life has been like happening. And that's got to be, I'd imagine that's probably got to be a weird thing to come back to after a while.
Yeah, it is for sure. Yeah, you know, it's like when I get back, I usually the first person I like check in with, first thing I do is this. Yeah, I go to the gym and check in with Will and sit down in his office. I'm like, all right, what'd I miss? You know, tell me what's going on with everybody. And then my son, you know, dropping in with my son, and he's always got so much to tell me because so much has happened at school. And yeah, I think that's kind of the hard thing about someone being in a relationship with me or anyone that does this job is it's like, you know, like Summer was never not going to work and dealing with kids, and you know? So in her head, it's this weird thing, right? Because in her head, she's like, you're with your best friends traveling the country right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah-ish, you know?
Yeah.
And for her, she's, you know, she's stuck at home being a single parent, you know? So, yeah, I think it's weird on both ends. But, yeah, definitely, you know, when we used to go out for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, bro, you come back and the whole world could be different, you know?
Yeah. Have you found a way to manage that, whether it's scheduling your tours different or like mental stuff that you do now, or how do you
you ain't gonna catch me on the road for longer than 3 weeks, bro. I won't do it no more. Like, I by nature adapt, you know, and what I started finding is when we were doing 6-week tours, the only way that I could cope with it was I would like maybe even subconscious, like convince myself like, well, this is my life now. I actually don't have a real life. I actually don't have a family. This is just what I do. I ride in this bus and we get out and we play music every night and this is just what we do. So I would completely untether myself from back home. It gets really unhealthy, you know. Had like 2 tours like that. And that's why tours are shorter now. Like, because I'll disassociate because that's how I cope, you know. I'm like, well, I got to be where I'm at, otherwise I'm gonna go crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And that there's got to be some parts of that are healthy, where it's like, okay, well, I have to make the best out of this reality because regardless, it's my reality for the next 6 weeks. But one thing I've noticed too is a lot of times it seems like now with your tours, you've got a couple of days where you'll drop in and go see Tyler Wombles and Felipe, or you'll like, you know, kind of like strategically schedule in some days where you get to be a human again. Mm-hmm. And seeing you kind of have that, like watching your shoulders drop and be like, all right, we got a day.
Yep.
We can go be humans for a little bit. Is that something that's been like intentional, or is that just kind of happens?
Yeah, bro, that's been intentional, like from the gate. Like, I would say by the time I got my blue belt, I started like having places that I preferred to train at in cities. So I'd be like, well, let's do Sunday here so I can have Monday and Tuesday to train. And it's the beautiful thing about fighting, man, is these people at the gyms, they don't give a fuck who you are. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, we're training, bro. I'm a punch and kick and submit, and you know what I mean? It's like, it's a pretty pure environment. So that to me is super, super intentional, of like making sure my days off are in places where I can go be with people that don't give a fuck about my career or my music, you know?
Yeah, you're not on a platform for a day or two.
Yeah.
What's it like managing relationships that are on the road, like people that you see once or twice a year but still stay in touch? Like, you've got a great community in Southern California. Like, how do you manage some of those like almost like outsourced relationships?
I think it's actually a really beautiful thing, because the cool thing with my job, I never say goodbye to anybody. I'll see you, bro. Guaranteed I'll see you. You know what I mean? I'll be back. Yeah, I think that I make an effort to stay in touch, you know, and so do they, you know. Like, there was 2 years in a row where Wombles was the only one that called me on my birthday. His birthday's the day before mine too, so it's easy to remember. But yeah, I think it just takes effort, and there's people that are really special to me. Tyler and Felipe are both very special to me. So, and I have those pockets, you know, like you met a gang of them in Fort Collins, you know, like Mo and Dell and his wife. Like, there's just people that, like you said, that when I'm around, I naturally drop my shoulders and I'm just like, oh, you know, like, yeah. So those relationships where I get to just be me and I'm not seen as that thing, I get to just like drop in. Cause like Dell is one of those people, he's like Brady, you know, one of the first things he's asked me when he sees me, how's your heart, bro?
Yeah.
Not, how's the tour going? How are ticket sales? You know, like he's immediately is like, wants to know how I'm doing. So yeah, I put a lot of effort into keeping those fires stoked.
How do you, I'd imagine that especially when you're on the road, there's a lot of people that want that piece of your time though. Like there's probably tons of people who want to be that person, right? Is like to have that drop in moment and stuff like that. But how do you filter out and say like, all right, these are the people that I'm going to like make an effort to stay in touch with and do that kind of thing, versus like, how do you weed through the noise on that?
Oh man, I think as I get older, unless you are involved in the fight game, we're probably not hanging out, because there's just like there's certain personality traits that come along with people that that train, and ego is not really up in there. So it's like, I know what their motive is for hanging out with me. It's because they like me, or they wouldn't, you know, like. And I think I just have a sixth sense too, man. I can tell if you want to hang with me because you think I'm the guy, or if you genuinely are a person.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And on the road, it gets tricky, and it's why I keep myself so isolated. Like you've seen, I ain't getting off the bus, bro. Like everyone wants to go eat. Cool, man. Grab me something while you're there. I'm not coming. Like I like my alone time, man. I like being by myself. I like living alone. I like being alone. I spend a lot of my time not alone. Mm-hmm. So especially on the road, it's like if I have an opportunity where I can hang out on the bus for 3 hours by myself, I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Was there a pivot that happened somewhere in there where it went from like being down to hang out at the venue after shows and say what's up to people before, and then shifting to more of that like isolated kind of like protecting your peace sort of thing? Yeah.
I started getting like feeling like spiritually sick, man, you know, like feeling real fucking weird. And I'm blessed that I have people in my life that I can talk on a spiritual level with. And, you know, my brother Mo, who's like my unofficial mentor, he was the first person that brought that up to me. It's like, bro, I see you on stage. Like, you put out, bro. You go straight from that to like out here giving more. Like, you gotta protect your energy, bro. Like, you gotta, at the very least, bro, go take 20 minutes and just be with you, do some breath, land a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just be out here pouring out your cup, bro. You're gonna crash. And he was right. I did. I absolutely did. You know, in 2022, I absolutely crashed. I was like, out of juice, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I get curious sometimes because that's something that I've been struggling with a little bit too, is that I've got a lot of different things that I feel like I'm trying to be good at, right? Like I'm trying, you know, to be a good friend. I'm trying to be a good son, a good brother, a good all of these things. But then it's like, you know, I felt like I was being 70% in a lot of things. I'd give the gym 70%, and then I'd give training 70%, and then I'd give my relationship 70%. And the analogy I gave somebody was like, I was walking into every room with a half full cup and it had a lid on it. Mm-hmm. I was like, I don't expect you to pour anything into me, but I'm also not going to pour anything into you. So we're just kind of like checking a box here. Like we're spending the time because we're supposed to spend the time. We had this conversation. I was like, actually, bro, that's exclusively how I operate in the world. Yeah. I always got my lid on. I don't need shit from you, and I ain't giving you shit. Yeah. And it's been tricky for me though, because it feels like there's been a lot of times where I think if I would have taken that lid off and I would have poured into people, sometimes I forget that like when I pour into somebody and they light up and their day just got better and then they give that back to me, I might walk in with a half full cup, pour it all out and come back with double. Yeah, Greg, my boy Greggy, my tour manager and dear friend, he said one time to me, he said, I think when I feel my most not okay is when I'm not of service. Where he's like, I feel like if I can find some way to serve, I usually am okay. What I think he meant by that, because I know for me, in that liking my alone time, I previously would stew over all the areas I was failing in, where I wasn't good enough, where I could improve, all of that. Where it's like, go to the gym and coach, man. How about you get out of your head for a little bit and just start putting into other people? I have never, ever, even last week, I texted Parker on the way to the gym. I don't really feel like coaching tonight. I left that. I stayed late and helped Z clean. You know, it's like, yeah, I think you're right on. I think it's super important of like, when we can go show up for other people, it usually does make us feel better. Yeah. Yeah. I think what I'm trying to figure out now is like, how do you discern though, when you're supposed to be pouring your cup out versus when you're supposed to just be chilling there? Because to your point, you can't always be giving 100% to everything. Yeah, I think for me, man, my big work right now, and since I've got home, is like really tapping into how shit feels spiritually instead of mentally, physically, like zooming all the way in on it, especially with relationships. I think about this with Josiah all the time, because I love working with him so much. It's like, because I know his heart, man. Yeah. And I know how much he appreciates me.
So that fills me up. He doesn't even got to say shit. I feel it. So it's like, I want to go show up for you, bro. Because feeling your energy and your gratitude and just the man that you are, like, I feel that, and I leave feeling better. And then I think it puts a little thing of like, well, remember you have that relationship with him next time you're all bumming out, you know? And I have that with a handful of boys at the gym. But I don't know, man. I've had to really shrink my circle. And I think as you get older, you just have to. Me and Nate were just talking about that. You have to. It's like, otherwise everyone's going to fucking stick straws in your cup when you're not looking. And they'll start sucking from it, you know? So it's like, and doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like, we so much fear saying no to people, because I think we're people pleasers by nature. I think guys like you and I just are. We want to make people happy. We want to, you know, and it's like, my friend Rachel said this to me this summer. Like, if we're not being malicious, dude, I'm not responsible for your feelings. If you want me to go do something and I check in with myself and it's a no, and I tell you no, your feelings are hurt, that's your fucking problem, dude. That's just not my problem, because I have a responsibility to show up for myself.
Right.
Because we know what happens when I don't.
That's
Start
huge.
Popping Xanax, taking nose beers, dude. You know? So it's like, I got to show up for me first. Otherwise, everybody's fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. And it's so tricky. It's so tricky too, though, because there's some times where it feels really good to do what's like maybe not the wrong thing, but it's not totally the right thing, you know? And like, you know, there's some times where it feels like the right thing is to be there for somebody and to listen to their problems or go show up for them or do something like that. But, you know, it's tricky for me, especially like whether it's the business world or friends or something like that. There's some times where it's like, bro, it doesn't feel right for me to sit here with you for 2 hours right now and like try to help you solve your shit, because I'm not really invested in that. And there's other people where I am invested in their shit, and I got to be there for them, and I got to keep that energy for them.
That is just it. That's what I was going to say. I always think of it as this like reserve tank. And like, there's this line in Morning, like, where I would say like, I'm in no place to give advice or say how to live it all, like something like that. I remember how I felt when I wrote that line. I was like, bro, I'm not in a place to be coaching you, bro. I'm swimming in my own shit over here. I have no advice for you. Yeah. I am not the person to tell you how to be a human right now. But I think that idea of the reserve tank is, it's like, if I'm emptying that with all of these people because I don't know how to say no, I want that tank full. So when I get a call from you or a call from Brady or a call from Will, I can show up and be like, fuck, dude, my backpack is so empty. Whatever you need to put in there, bro, there's room. I've kept it empty for you. I've been waiting for this moment to fill up this backpack. So let's put all your shit in there.
There's some people that are, I mean, like you said about Brady, like he's so good at that. And it's cool watching your guys' dynamic, because it seems like you're able to be there for each other in that way.
Bro, I told him, I'm like, I don't wish bad on nobody, especially not Brady. He's my dearest friend. The way this man has shown up for me the past few years, it's like every time I hit the lowest low, he's like, hi. And I'm like, bro, I don't wish nothing bad on you, but I'm like, can you go through something fucked up so I can be there for you for once? Because every single time, bro, when I am like, you know, thinking about bouncing, he's there with me. It's like, God knows when I'm going to go through an episode, and he's like, well, let's make sure Brady's there. Yeah. It's fucking crazy, bro. It's like, that's the only way that I can make sense of it. Because I, like, even Australia, bro, I went into that being like, this is going to be a blast. I'm bringing my best friend. God was like, nah, bro, you about to faceplant. But that's why Brady's coming. Yeah. You know, that's the only sense I can make of it, is that, you know, which also, shit, maybe I should start paying attention. I'll be like, why are you around all the time now, dog? Is something coming?
Yeah. Start looking in the sky a little bit, like, okay.
Yeah, but it's also, you know, the way he shows up for me makes me want to show up for other people, man, because, you know, I don't have a daddy, I don't have a mom that I talk to about shit. And Brady is just fucking, man, I don't deserve that. It's crazy, man. He's the best human being I've ever met.
Did you have anybody that you leaned on like that growing up, or was he the first time that you had somebody that was there for you like that?
I mean, kinda. We were all just fucking knuckleheads, though. But it was like, yeah, I mean, I think when I was young, I just had to internalize all my deep shit. Because it was like, you know, getting too emotional or showing too much of your deck was like, you know, it will be used against you at some point, or probably, you know. So it's like, you know, the women in my life have usually been who I keep it 100% real with. You know, like my first like real girlfriend, Sarah, and then Summer, and now Parker. You know, like there's something about, I just, you know, maybe it's because I've never had an affectionate mom or something, but, you know, when I have a partner, I'm like, yo, you just got to know. And there's part of me that kind of wants to scare him away too. So I'm just like, I'm just going to show you the whole picture. If it's too much and you got to bounce, I get it. So I've always really leaned on the women in my life, you know, because around the boys growing up, it's like you got to keep it pretty locked up. And it's actually through my relationship with Brady that I learned to, like, oh shit, I have a homie that I can actually like go deep with, and then more of those people start showing up, you know. Was that uncomfortable at first? It never was with him. Because I think we both would just have these things. Like, I remember one time when I was living in Red Lodge, there was just a summer, man, where he would just pop up every couple weeks and stay for 4 or 5 days. Park his fucking van, not in the street, right in the middle of my front yard. But we were sitting at a fire. We'd always have a fire in my backyard, and he was like, man, sometimes I feel like you could just say anything, and I'd be like, yep, same. And then I was like, yeah, I think we pretty much feel like me and Brady just struggle with a lot of the same shit. And the thing we struggle with the most is, what does it all mean? You know, every single facet of life, I want to know what it means. Why? Is it big? Is it small? Am I overthinking it? You know? Yeah, I spent a lot of time thinking about thinking. And Brady is kind of the first person I met that's like down to sit there for 3 hours and like, well, let's fucking put it out. Let's go, you know, let's spread it out on the table. And I think that's another layer of a relationship too that's different than being able to be there for each other. Like, I think that those are even two separate things. It's like, yeah, you can have people who are there for you and like, you know, down to ride for you during the good times and the bad times, but having another person that can go a level below that and be like, okay, yeah, we'll do that, but also let's talk about what this all means. What the hell? What are we doing? You know, and that's what's so special about him, bro, is like, you know, he's never going to tell me not to do something, even if he knows I shouldn't do it. And he's like, that's not me. I know you anyway. If I tell you not to touch the hot thing, you're going to touch it, and then I'll help you put the Band-Aid on your burn after. So it's like, that's essentially how he shows up. Is just like, well, okay, you run face first in that wall, and I'll help you pick up your teeth, and then we'll sit here and talk about it. Yeah. You know, that's kind of his MO. Yeah. Do you seek out people in your life that will let you have that freedom? No, man. It's actually my biggest problem with Brady. Like, the reason I value my relationship with Greg so much is because I have set a precedence with him over and over. You were in charge of my life when we're together, bro. You tell me what to do, when to do it. You know, other than the set list and the singing part, bro, you're in charge of everything. And he will. No, we can't do that because we have to do this. You need to work out because we're not going to have time later. So if you work out now, then you can shower here. You know, like, I value that about Greg. He keeps me between the lines, bro. He surely is not going to be like, you know, if I'm like, hey, bro, it's been a year and I think I'd like to go get fucked up for 3 days. Yeah. No, we're going to the hotel right now. You know, so no, I value that, but I also value Brady's approach too, man. I get way more out of Brady's approach, but you know, I'm just discipline is what keeps my wheels on the track. And Greg is just a constant ever reminder. It was like, well, remember, you wrote this code. Yeah. And you got to stick to the code, bro. Yeah. This is in your handwriting. Uh-huh. Yeah. There's, I tend to be a very, I lean towards being a very disciplined and a very punctual person. And, I fell in love with the quote, discipline will set you free. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's because I've got a particular bias towards living that way. But as a guy who's like chasing freedom as one of your top things that you're aspiring towards, do you think that the discipline sets you free? 100%. Because for me, if I, just use an easy example, Yeah, I could use drugs and alcohol. I love them. You know, I sure do love them. But that's not freedom, because then I got to pay for it for a couple days. And actually, as I've gotten older, what I found is I got to pay for it for longer. It takes my brain a couple weeks to bounce back if I go.
If you get in there.
Yeah, so it's like, for me, the discipline to say, we don't compromise. You have to work out in the morning. You have to eat good food. You have to drink water. You have to take your supplements. They're non-negotiables. And that discipline allows me to then be like, I'm pretty much fucking up for anything, because my mental and physical are so locked in that that's actually freedom. Where it's like, if I were to go on a 3-day bender, bro, you know, blow through a 1/4 ounce of blow, it's like, hey, we're going on this motorcycle trip. You want to come? Fuck no. What are you talking about, dude? I have to sleep for a week and I have no serotonin. Where it's like, if I keep my health in check, and like I said, spirituality, getting back in touch with my spirituality and having a spiritual practice to remind me on a daily basis that I'm not this meat suit that I'm in. I just have to take care of it, because right now it's the vehicle that my soul is operating. That to me is freedom, because then I can actually be up for whatever, you know?
Yeah, I think it creates room for the things that you actually want to do.
Yes.
Yeah, I had the other day, earlier this week actually, I took a microdose and cleaned the house, and at 10:30 I decided to hit the gym. First time I've ever done it. And it was empty. And I was sitting there, and it was so great, because it kind of put a whole different perspective on anything. And I was sitting there like lifting in gratitude, which is a weird thing. And usually my self-talk at the gym is like, I drag myself there because I know I have to be there. Yep. And when I'm doing it, I'm like, do another rep, bitch.
That used to be my voice,
throw the weight
too.
up. Like it's very, and I a lot of times refer to it as like I'm there getting my crazies out. Because if I talk to myself like that at the gym for an hour and a half, I'm not talking to myself like that for the rest of the day. But it was the first time that, you know, I went there and I was like speaking to myself in gratitude and doing all these things. And when I came home and I was showering, I had this thought that I was like, you know what? I could have spent that time doing anything else. You know, 4 years ago, I would have been like probably teetering on a blackout by now, you know, getting after it, probably doing some stupid shit. And I realized how much the small things make the big things possible. And so often, like, I get caught up thinking about the big stuff, right? Where's my career going? Where's my business going? Where am I going to be in 10 years? When am I getting a house? Like all of this shit. And when I come back and look at it, it's like, you can't go hard for one day and be like, all right, boom, done. It's only little things. And the big things you can only see in retrospect anyways.
Big things are coming regardless.
Yeah.
The big things are a byproduct of doing the little things every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think a big thing that I've been doing is I've been talking for years about getting into a regular yoga practice. And actually, Will was kind of the inspiration for this, bro, of just watching his body the last 6 months. Because me and him used to talk about it all the time. Because one of us was always hurt. Man, we should, what if we like pick one day, we do yoga, and then we'll come in here and train? And watching his, you know, he goes from the baddest dude in the room to I can't get out of bed. And then a week goes by and he's back to rolling every day. And I'm like, I gotta, you know, in this winter especially, bro, I just... You know, all my injuries are just coming back. I'm 30. I'm every bit of 37 now. But in yoga practice, every class, they're like, you know, set an intention for your class, or maybe if you want to dedicate this practice to someone. And I've been like, me. And then my teacher always is like, throughout the class, all right, bring your focus back to your intention. Like, we'll get done doing part of a flow. Bring your intention back. And mine's been, I love you and I'm proud of you, to me. So I'm doing this yoga practice, and like every so often I check back in. I'm like, bro, you didn't even want to come here this morning. I'm so fucking proud of you. I love you so much. Look at the way you're showing up for yourself, bro. You've been coming to yoga 4 days a week for 3 weeks now. And every day you get here, you don't feel like doing it. You're in here, look at you, bro. Look at you go, you know? And it's like, it's changed my whole mood, bro. I'm like in a whole different place, especially starting the day with a yoga practice like that.
What did it take to get you to that place where you could talk to yourself that way?
Australia, bro. I used to think that the spiritual battle for me, since I was young, I felt like we could just call it like good and evil. I felt very strong pulls from both sides. In my heart, I knew I wanted to be a daddy and eat healthy and make music that reflected God. And there's certain MCs that you hear where you're just like, this man is an antenna. You know, Common is one of those people that's just like, you hear God when he's doing his thing. You know, 50 Cent, that is a man of the world. That is not a man of God, you know what I mean? And I love him for that, but I've always felt that pull. And then growing up the way I grew up, it was like evil was, you know, drugs and violence and lust and pride. You know, these things were held to high regard. You were supposed to be prideful. Love, you don't love nobody. You love yourself, and even that self-love is twisted. I love myself because I'm bad, bro, you know. And we don't love women, we lust after them. And then when we get what we need, out they go. That was like, and I felt that pull. And I want to fit in, and I don't, you know, I don't want to be looked at weird. So like, and in Australia, for me, how that manifested as an adult is through addictions. You know, I was sober for 9 years, and then my marriage started getting shaky. Finances started getting shaky. Relationships within my business started getting shaky. And, you know, this little voice chimes in like, bro, I got you.
Yeah, and you know how to solve this. Yeah,
and the devil knows the motherfucking Bible too. And he runs the world. And it's hard to pursue God. It's hard to live a godly life. And, you know, Satan doesn't show up as a horned demon. It shows up as a free 2-gram bag of cocaine and a bottle of Xanax and a 5'5", 100-pound yoga instructor, bro. That's how we show up. So I just had to get real about this shit isn't hypothetical, bro. You have two choices. You're halfway through your life. Inshallah, God willing, I'm halfway through my life. So you're gonna get real about this shit and quit playing halfway, where it's like, yeah, when I'm home and I'm in my thing, yeah, it's easy to be a man of God here. No one's fucking with you. There's no temptation here.
Yeah.
We get you out in the world, bro, and get you tired, get you homesick, get you sad, get you broke. You know what I mean? It's like, that's when he shows up. So I've had to get really real about that. And a big part of it is my self-talk. You know, when I got super sick, bro, I got like trapped in this weird fever dream where it was my voice talking to me saying the meanest things. And when I came out of it, it was like, we're done. I've run the David Goggins CT Fletcher program for so long, in the gym, out of the gym. Like, I'm done talking to myself like that. That's how my dad talked to me. That's how everyone in my life talked to me. It's like, bro, if I'm going to learn to love myself, it has to start with how I speak to myself. You know, I used to never be able to say, like, people are like, you must be so proud of the life you've created from where you came from. I'm like, what are you talking about? I ain't built shit yet. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, even take the career out of it. Your son loves you. Your son says he loves you 10 times a day. You say it to him 100 times a day. He's safe with his daddy. He loves his daddy. Success. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Did that mentality make it hard for you to receive when people would tell you things like that?
100%. I would let none of that in. I'd let all the criticism in. All the criticism, even if I don't know you. Mm-hmm. You know? I'll let all of that in, all the negative shit in, and stew in it, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, though, because the negative stuff, it is a fuel, you know? And I think that we get caught in this feedback loop where we find something to be angry about, or we find somebody to prove wrong, or we find something to take as a challenge, and then we go do something that objectively is something that is a good result. And so you start to lean on that fuel and go like, okay, well, if I just like see everything as a challenge.
It's a dark road, bro.
See everybody as, you know, they want me to fail. I'm going to prove them wrong and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, it's a fuel, but it burns real hot and real fucking volatile.
Yeah. And the other thing is too with that is it's like, you know, with some of the relationships that I've had in the music industry, you know, I've had people actively try to fuck with my career because I didn't want to work with them. And that used to be my fuel. Well, I'm going to get so big that you want me to play your venues. And I'm like, nah, motherfucker, I'm playing across the street. Or okay, he's still rich. You know what I mean? He's going to spend 30 seconds being like, what an asshole. Yeah. Fuck. And he might be a little salty that you're rich now. You know what I mean? And for me, what also happened post-Australia is, what is success to me? Forever, man. It was, I have a beautiful truck. Beautiful truck. I want a Bronco. Why? I don't know, because they're dope. Okay. What's wrong with your truck? Nothing. It's like 3 years old. Okay. So you don't need a Bronco, you know? And for me, what I've realized success is, I don't want for anything, bro. I have a home. I don't look at price tags when I'm at the grocery store. My son doesn't need anything or want anything, because anything he needs or wants, he gets. I have beautiful relationships in my life. I'm fulfilled. And it's like, well, what more do I want? The only thing that I can point to career related that I would want to grow is the ability to touch more people, the ability to positively impact more people's lives. That's the only reason I would want this thing to grow. And I had an aha, I was strung out down there. If this thing got as big as I wanted it to give, I'd have been fucked off in a hotel room, bro. Yeah. For sure. I wouldn't have been able to handle it. I'd have Mac Millered the fuck out of myself, dude. For sure. Because I mean, you see me out in the world, bro. If I don't know you, I'm not talking to nobody. I don't like attention. I don't like attention. Right. I'm trying to fly below the radar always. So it's like, if I accidentally fucked around and got famous, holy shit, I would have hated that.
Especially if it was an overnight thing where you didn't have the time to acclimate, which it seems like, I mean, even where you're at now,
it's perfect.
If it were to, I mean, let's say that it popped now. You and I both know you're sitting on a track right now that I think is going to change the.
I'm recording it tomorrow.
Game. Yes, let's go.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's say something like that pops though. The fact that you're in the place that you are now compared to where you were maybe when you were on the road with Franti, way different. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's a whole different set of tools that you've got in your tool bag to be able to deal with something like that.
Yeah, and the only thing exciting about that to me is it would mean less shit that I don't want to do, right? Like if I had a song pop, it would just be like, okay, cool. So if shows are grossing this much, let's play like 30 next year. Let's do 2-week tours and call it good.
Get real surgical about the venues and the people and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it would give me a lot of freedom. Yeah. It would give me a lot of freedom to be very particular about what I do. Yeah, and ultimately it's not, the music thing for me right now, it's not about me. And I think I was just chasing for a long time, you know? And this thing that I keep coming back to is like, there's nothing in nature that will come to you if you're chasing it. Every single critter on the planet, man, if you start chasing it, it's gonna run. So I've been thinking about that with success and career success, I guess. But it's like, man, I'm gonna get this channel between me and God all the way open again, create from there, and trust that whatever comes from that is exactly what's meant for me in my story. And everything that doesn't, isn't. And then I'm okay with that I don't need more money. I don't need anything. I have everything I need. Even if you took, like, the thing inside of me that creates is untouchable. It's unobtainable by anybody else. It's mine. It's so deeply mine. I'm fine. I'm always okay. And I used to be like, I'm always okay. I don't need shit. I'm okay. I don't mean it like that. I mean, like, I am okay. I'm good. I don't need anything else. Mm-hmm. So, like, in my heart, what I feel like is as soon as I have acknowledged this and quit chasing it, then something magical is probably going to happen, because I don't care if it does anymore.
Right. Yeah, it's much like being out in the world, man. People can smell it on you when you're desperate. Uh-huh. And I think that there's times where the universe can tell when you're pushing and when you're white knuckling it and when you're just, I'm going to make it happen no matter what. But you're doing that from the wrong place.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it too for me is recognizing that the music that I make, again, man, I don't ever want to be a hater, but there's shit that I see even in our, like, the outskirts of the scene that I'm in. Like, some of the shit that does well, I'm like, you fucking kidding me? Like, this shit is so corny. There's not a fucking drop of spirit in this. Mm-hmm. This is the most worldly, low IQ, redundant bullshit ever. And they have one of these low IQ, no spirit, having redundant bullshit songs hit once. And they're like, cool, keep making them. So I recognize also that being an artist that exclusively writes deep music about the juice, not the fruit, and that goes, I'm gonna make an Americana record and then some hip hop songs and then this, I get it, hard to track. So it's like, I've also gotten really real about that. It's like, yeah, bro, you ain't everyone's cup of tea. Most people just want music they can party to.
Yeah.
And you over here trying to make these motherfuckers examine their entire existence. So like, you know, you're just not everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah.
And that's all right. That's all right. Because I would rather have quality than quantity. Like, you know, I put a thing on my story, like our Spotify rap just happened. Mm-hmm. We got 12 million some odd plays. Great. I don't care about that number. The number I care about was we had like 1.2 million listeners this year just on Spotify. We've never been on a playlist. That's 1.2 million real fucking people listening to us on purpose because someone sent them a song. You know what I mean? Like real people. Not they were listening to chill Saturday cooking music. You know what I mean? And we came up and they didn't skip it.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of other artists with these inflated numbers because there's people that know how to get them on all these playlists. And get your fucking bag, bro. I'm with it. But for me, it's like, I take a lot of pride that over 1 million people wanted to listen to my music and did it on purpose. That means more to me than any of the other numbers.
Yeah, it feels like a real connection. When you're thinking about your, I mean, I don't even want to say your career because I think it's more like your creativity. How's your relationship with comparison evolved since you started?
I think I used to compare a lot. And I guess like, yeah, I guess just like full disclosure, you know, when I started, there was kind of a path, right? Like, here's Franti, here's Nako and Trev, you know, and here was me. And it seemed like there was this big, you know, like we got signed to Madison House because it felt in the scene like there was this growing demand for music like ours, right? Like spiritual music, deep music. The hippies were with it. It was starting to grow at festivals and Nako's name started going up, Trev's name started going up. So when we went on tour with Franti, it was like, well, this is a no-brainer. And then started doing shows with Trevor too that same summer. It was like, oh, we're fucking in.
Yeah.
And then something kind of happened during COVID, you know, the like bullshit Nako cancellation fucking attempt, like some goofy shit happened. But I used to compare in that way. That was just like, okay, well, if I stay at it, I'll just follow in these guys' footsteps and I'll be there.
Did you view it as like a hierarchy? Like there's rungs
100%.
Like rungs on this ladder and I just need to hit each one?
Yeah, because other genres of music have always been that way. Like bluegrass, reggae, right? You start here and then you get on tour with bigger bands. Your name starts going up the festival list. You know, and then your direct support for Slightly Stupid, and then boom, now you sell 1,500 tickets a night.
Yeah.
I watched Nathan do it. It was, you know, one of my closest friends. I watched him do it.
Yeah.
From ground zero. So it's like there's a path for most artists. In my genre of music, whatever you would call it, there wasn't really a path ever. And then it kind of seemed like there was for a little, you know, for a couple years. It's like, oh, sick. Now we have a ladder.
Yeah.
And then that kind of went away with the bullshit that happened to Knox. And then Trev kind of started getting real experimental with his shit and really grew his brand. He was kind of out in his whole own stratosphere. Franti is just like so cheery, we're gonna have a good time, blah, blah, and I just ain't that guy most of the time, you know?
Yeah.
So we all kind of split. All the rungs of the ladder fell off. And then for a handful of years, yeah, bro, it was like the most negative version of comparison. Like, these motherfuckers suck. Like, I used to have these thoughts of like, bro, I want to roll up to a festival and get a mic and just go out there and be like, yo, I'll battle this motherfucker in front of all of you. Like, I will smash this motherfucker. Because there are dudes, not going to name names, but there are dudes in the scene that are rapping that, yes, the words rhyme, but they are saying nothing. Like, not even like not spiritual shit or deep shit, like nothing.
Wouldn't be a good read.
It's just nothing. Yeah, it's gobbledygook on a fucking paper, you know?
Yeah.
And I used to be like, well, why are they selling 1,000 tickets a night and I'm selling like 200 to 300? What the fuck? It used to make me so angry because I was viewing it as a meritocracy. The music industry is not a fucking meritocracy. It is, who do you know? Who can fucking get you in there? Like, oh, you're with Ineffable. You're with Ineffable. They're gonna fucking, if you're down with them, they're gonna keep bumping you up the rungs.
Right.
I don't have nobody like that. I never have. So it's like, yeah, bro, I gotta be where I'm at, and I'm blazing my own trail, and I've always had to. Franti is the only person in the industry that's ever helped me at all. Him and Trev, early, you know? So now I'm just like, how much energy and emotion have I wasted doing that?
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck what anybody else is up to? Like, them winning doesn't mean me losing. Like, if you're winning, good job. If you're not, good luck. Like,
yeah. Do you think that getting past the point where you're not in survival mode anymore makes it easier to have less of that comparison?
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of it's just maturing too, man. You start to realize, like I said, it's like, there's not a finite amount of fans. You know what I mean? It's not a zero-sum game. It's not like this band doing well means I'm not going to do as well. It's like, no, man, people like lots of shit, you know? So it's like, you know, Kendrick doing well doesn't affect Drake doing well. It's like they're both winning. So it's like, yeah, you just kind of start to realize that it's just a waste of energy and time. And I'm guilty of it too, because like sometimes, you know, a clip will come up. I just watched this Sugar Shack video of this particular artist, and I was like, you're fucking kidding me, bro. You know, and they're killing it right now. And I just am like, I don't get it. But maybe that's because I'm so out of touch with the real world, you know? I just live in my little bubble. Maybe that's it, but I don't know, man. It's wild.
I want to touch on the Franti thing because it seems like you had a real full circle moment with that being in Bali. But for the people who don't know the story, I want to start with you passing out CDs and you getting that tour with him. So for everybody who hasn't listened to that, how did you get on tour with Franti in the first place?
So he was playing a show at this it's one of my favorite venues in the country. We haven't played it in forever, but it's called Janice Live. It's in St. Pete. It's an outdoor venue, and it's like boxed in by these buildings. And the green rooms are up on this balcony. So my friend Adam asked us to be on the show. And my management, he was doing like 3 shows in Northern Florida. So my manager got us on the other 2. But I went down there and spent all but $37. And my plan was he was going to watch our show from the balcony. I was like, there's no way he's going to sit in his green room. He'll want to check it out. And he's going to be so blown away by us that he wants to take us on tour. Which is what I thought happened. But after any time we had a big opening show, I used to go outside and sell CDs. I would just hand them to people and be like, whatever you want to give. And after the show, he's like walking across the catwalk and sees me in the middle of the street and points at me. I pointed back at him. And then the next night, he had me come spit a verse with him on stage. And I was blown away. I was such a Franti fan, man. He was so huge for me, late high school, of just being into punk rock, folk music, reggae, all that shit. He just did all, I was like, oh my God, this is everything I like in one artist. But we ended up going on tour with him for a year. And like, yeah, when we were on that tour, we were like a few weeks in. And I told him, you know, like, here was my plan. I can't believe it worked. He's like, well, that's not exactly how it happened. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, the show was all right, for sure. You guys are good. You're a good band. He's like, for me, I saw you standing out in the middle of the street with your shirt off selling CDs. I was like, damn, this kid wants it, you know? So he's like, that's why I helped you. Because I was like, man, he's going to get it one way or the other. I might as well help him.
Right. So when you were on tour with him, that's the last little pit stop until Bali. But you said one of the most profound things that has really impacted my life while we were on the bus one day. And you said that when you were on tour, you spent a lot of time being like, you know, how are we going to turn this into something bigger? And
the whole time
I struggle with that so much, man, where like, it's hard for me to be present in the thing because I'm already thinking about the next thing. And I'm curious, you know, that's a big moment for you when you end up, you know, on tour with him for a year and stuff like that. But what was your mindset on that tour?
Fear. I was scared. I just wanted so bad to be like, okay, well, after this tour, you know, because we're playing in front of 2,000-3,000 people every night with him. man, if 10% of them come see us when we come back, like that's that's life changing. You know, if you're selling 200-300 tickets now, you make a fucking living.
Yeah.
So I spent the whole fucking tour just like at every show being like, I remember in DC, and I would do it every night. You know, ask a fucking sound guy, who's the promoter? Is he here? Who's the promoter? You know, and I track down the promoter. Hey, I'm Drew. I was in the opening band. You know, my agent reached out to you guys last week about us booking another show. And, you know, I want whatever venues you have that are small enough, like I'd love to come back. And the whole tour was that. And then I'd spend that whole night being like, oh my God, dude. Like, what if we come back and we only sell like 20 tickets? Then he'll never want to work with us again. And the whole tour was that, bro. You know, I enjoyed very little of it.
Yeah. So that tour, obviously you guys are in front of, I mean, fuck, by the end of a year, you guys must have played in front of, what, 1 million people?
Shit, at least probably 500,000, yeah.
Yeah. So after that, some things take off. And then you and Michael, it sounds like you guys, like, didn't lose touch, but you guys, like, were a little bit more quiet over the next couple of years or so. Yeah,
I would say the first, like, 2 years after that tour, we stayed in really good touch. And you know, I went to San Francisco a couple times and stayed with him when I was there on tour. And then, yeah, man, it just happened. You know, he had a kid, I had a kid. And then when COVID happened, they were in Bali. Mm-hmm. You know, he was like, and he, you know, hearing the whole story when I was out there, it was like right before COVID happened, he had invested a shit ton of money to expand this resort. So it's like 3 whole extra buildings, like framed out with like a little bit of concrete in them, paid for to get finished. Like he had already paid for everything to be finished and was like, oh fuck, you know? So I'm sure he wasn't really thinking about keeping in touch with anyone. He was trying to save his damn resort.
For sure.
And then, yeah, when we went to Bali, it's just so good to see him, man. It's just so good to see him. And a big thing I realized on that whole trip, it's just a deep wound in me, man, not having a pops and going through shit and not having, there's been so many times in my life where I just wish I had a dad that I could call and be like, Dad, fuck, it's getting me. This life thing is getting me. Yeah. And I just have never had it, and I have always had to thug it out, man. I've always had to figure it out myself, and it's just tired, man. I just get tired. I'm really tired. And we got to talk about that, and we went for a beautiful walk. He showed me and Brady the property, and when we got to this building, there's like this huge painting of the poster that we were on tour together. And we were like standing there looking at it, and he's like, that was a really fun tour. I was like, yeah, it was. And then we were like sitting by the pool, having these juices. I was just like, bro, you've changed my fucking life. And his wife was there. Like, what do you mean? I was like, dude, if you like, the reason that I'm successful, the reason that I'm financially stable, it's because of what you did for me, bro. That was like the thing that pushed it over the edge. That was like what started it, that wave. Really? Yeah, man. You know, like, I guess I just never got to express that to him. I said thank you 1,000,000 times, but to get to explain to him, like, no, bro, like, my son has a beautiful life because of what you did for me. You know, I started tearing up.
Yeah.
And then his wife started tearing up. It was just like, bro, nobody ever done no shit for me before, and you did. And then it led into this conversation of me just being like, dude, I be struggling out here sometimes, dude, you know? And I don't have anyone older to call. And you're like, you know, he's in his mid-50s. He's been doing this shit for 35 years. It's just like, dude, you always call me. Like, what are you talking? Why don't you call? You know? Yeah. So that felt really good too, you know, just to reconnect with him. And then I ended up coming home early. We scrapped Japan, and Brady ended up staying another week, and he was like, had got his shit together. He put us up in this fucking beautiful suite. It's like 2-bedroom suite with this 4-foot deep bathtub, like just insane. And Brady like goes down and talks to the lady that runs it and was like, hey, you know, I'm going to get a new place. I know Drew had it out last night. So she's like, how long will you be here? He's like, till next Monday. She's like, we'd really love it if you stayed. So he stayed there like a whole extra week and just like hung out with him. And, you know, he was filming and shit too. But yeah, I mean, phenomenal human being, man. And just resilient. just resilient, you know. I mean, what's funny too, Sound of Sunshine didn't happen until he was 40.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no
and he'd been
idea.
doing this shit since he was 20.
That motherfucker doesn't look like he's aged since he was 40 though. So it's hard to figure out.
He's lived a very active lifestyle.
Yeah.
And he was the other one too. I was telling him, you know, like, he was just telling me about when he went through his divorce, and he was just like, you know, I got on the yoga mat, man, and that was really what got me through that.
Did that inspire you to start hitting yoga when you got back?
Yes.
Because this was all, what, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
At this point?
Month ago. Yeah. A month ago.
Okay. What was it like having that time up right after Australia?
It was cool, but I got really, really sick the second day. So like the plan in Bali was to get motorcycles and go rip around, and we were going to shoot this Go Fast stuff. And bro, I got so sick. So I had like a day and a half of hanging where I like felt good, and then I was in bed for 3 days, and then came home. We had the fights, and then I was in bed for a week. Lost 12 pounds. It was a rough one. Yeah, I mean, I was really grateful. I was really grateful to have that decompression time, because I don't know what would have happened if I would have just came straight home, dude. I would have been a mess and probably pushed a bunch of people away to try to figure it out. So to have, you know, I just needed to mourn a bunch of shit, man, and get real with a bunch of spiritual shit. And I feel like the no dad thing and having a mom that's just completely emotionally unavailable, you know, I tried to talk to her on Thanksgiving. It was just like, yeah, I had like a nervous breakdown in Australia. She's like, oh, that's not good. What kind of food are you making today? It's like, oh yeah, okay. So, you know, in Bali, when I was in that bed for those 3 days, I was just emotionally drained too, you know. I finally mourned that, because my whole life I've just like shrugged it off, thugged it out. Just like, yeah, bro, well, ain't nobody at home, so you got to figure it out. And I feel like I finally was like, this has been hard, you know. And I just finally cried about it, and was just like, and beautiful. I immediately sent Colton a text right after that whole cry session, and was just like, dude, life's a motherfucker, you know. And you have to know, I'm here, bro. There isn't a thing that you could go through that I haven't done, built, destroyed, rebuilt, ruined, fixed, you know, and I'm here. You know, he sent me back a very beautiful message of just like, that means a lot. You know, I haven't really had any catastrophic things yet, but I'm sure I will. And yeah, I just wanted him to know, like, I'm your first call, motherfucker. Like, you know, when you
Yeah. Do you think that getting sick the way that you did, the time that you did, and all that stuff, do you think that was maybe one of the only ways that you could have gotten to the place that you are now?
Yes. And that was like the thing that got me through how dark it felt, man. Was just like, and I broke my finger. You know, what it felt like God was doing was like, nope, can't play guitar. Nope, can't lift weights. All of these things that you've been doing to avoid this shit, I'm taking them from you right now. Can't sing. Can't go ride a motorcycle about it. You gotta fucking lay here. You can talk to me, or you can fucking sit and stew. Figure it out, bro. Which one you want to do? It was like completely fate, you know? Because I would have got on the motorcycle, put the headphones on.
Thug it out.
Yeah. And it was like, that was exactly what it felt like. It was just like, nope. We're done here, bro. I'm taking everything from you. I'm giving you one last chance to talk to me. You gotta.
How fucking cool, though, that you had one of your best friends in the world and one of your mentors there at the same time.
I know, bro.
When all that went down. And
it was so wild, too, because Brady, I could feel his heaviness over him knowing how heavy everything was for me. You hear me crying. It was just a wall separating us. You know, you hear your boy, who you see as like one of the most resilient, toughest motherfuckers ever, and we're like, that motherfucker cried for like 6 hours today. And I would go, you know, I'd text him, where you at? I'm downstairs eating. Just come down, get in the sun. And I go down, and there was one day where I walk down there, and I'm like walking across this path to him, and his sunglasses on, and I can see tears. Like, him just seeing me, like, made him start crying, which made me start crying. You know, it was just this very emotional few days. Cause he could feel it. He was just like, fuck man, he's in it. Mm-hmm. He's in it and he's not trying to run from it. You know, there's an open bar there. You know what I mean? Like I could have run, you know what I mean? And I kept telling myself like, bro, this is what you talk about all of the time. This is what you sing about all of the time. This is the storm. It's going to run out of rain. You're not going to feel like this forever. But while you do, let's take some fucking notes here, bro. Because there's a good chance that if we go through this right, you're not going to feel like this again. You won't ever feel like this again. So while you're here, let's be in it. Let's do it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
And then, so time, like right as I started feeling better, you and I went and had coffee, you know? And then you were saying to me, that's why I was so heavy on that morning. Just like, bro, be with all of this. Like, you know what I mean? Everything you're going through, just be with every single piece of it and dissect it all. It's the opposite of our nature as humans.
Yeah, especially as men too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, as humans, it's, you know, weather the storm and keep it pushing, but especially as men, you feel like you've got the responsibility to thug it out and to be solid and to be all of these things. And sometimes, you know, there's probably a lot of times that actually ended up getting in the way and made me be less solid.
100%.
You know, be less of a provider, be less of the things that I aspire to be, because I thought I was doing the right thing by being like, yeah, I'm just going to put that real deep in a closet somewhere and hope that doesn't start growing mold and become a problem later.
Yeah. And I guess another blessing with that whole situation that just hit me too was like, being in a bed on the other side of the planet. It's like, if I was here, I still got to be a dad, still got to be a coach, and I still got to be a partner. Whereas like over there, it's like, no, dude, there's nowhere for you to go or be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have no role to fulfill right now. Like,
yeah. And even being in those roles too, I think sometimes showing up for other people can also be a crutch where it's like, my whole world is burning right now, but I'm going to get a little bit of good feedback if I help you out. So I'm going to do that and run from my shit.
Bro, my sister, God rest her soul, man, that was her MO, you know, severe alcoholic. And she always, you know, before she passed, that was her thing, man. She would find someone that was worse off than her and get them back on their feet and get them going. That was her cycle for years. She'd find these little fix them up projects and like, you know, get some young fucked up kids straightened out and then set them free into the world. And that was always the conversation. Like, fucking show up for you, dude. You're a wreck, you know?
Yeah. Which is cool that that's something that's present for you right now, is like your inner voice being that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's not hard. That self-love thing. I think I used to always just overcomplicate it because it felt prideful to me to say like, no, man, I love me. I love who I am. And I think a big piece of it, I think the reason that's hard is because we struggle to forgive ourselves. So as soon as you say, I love the person that I am, you immediately start going down the list of areas you fucked up. And my brother Mo said to me, you did the best you could with the tools you had available to you in any given moment, because that's the type of man you are. You're a good man. So even when you fucked up, you were trying, you just fell short, you know? It's not like when we're making a mistake in the moment, we're like, man, I sure am fucking up. Better double down. You know, that's not really how we operate. So it's like, once you can give yourself that grace, I think that's why so many people, especially people that are in war or prison or whatever, are so drawn to the story of Jesus, is they just need to know, yeah, man, you might have killed some guy. God still loves you, bro.
Yeah.
You know, Jesus still forgives you. And that's why that story is so powerful to people. You know, for me, I can't lock into an organized religion, but for me, that self-love goes with that. You know, it's like, man, well, you didn't know what you know now, or you probably wouldn't have done it that way. Mm-hmm. But you didn't.
One of my favorite ideas around that whole thing is asking yourself the question, like, who made you the judge and jury for allowing you to feel guilty about that? Because you now is in no place to judge you then, because you've got more tools, more experience, more lessons. Like, you don't get to be the judge and jury for what you did back then, because it's an entirely different person that you're judging.
100%. And the other part of it too is that we just have to tune into Okay, so what next? Okay, so you fucked up. How do you feel about it? I feel terrible. My appetite's gone and this. Okay, I believe with my whole heart that's God putting his hand on you, being like, bro, this is what it feels like to do that. Mm-hmm. So you can either go, all right, it's fine. I'll just drink and do blow and know that I'm going to be really, really sad for a couple days. Or you go, man, that is not a good ROI. I don't like the way I feel when I sleep around. I don't like the way I feel when I do drugs. I don't like the way I feel when I do shit out of spite. It's like, okay, so tune into the way you felt after you did the dumb thing. Put it on the list of shit not to do. And, you know, God willing, we are able to stick to that list. Because it's like, I think that was another big epiphany for me recently. Is it's like, dude, no one's harder on me than me. So it's like, okay, well, let's not spend days and days kicking the shit out of yourself because you relapsed. Like, how about we dust ourselves off and go, okay, I don't need another reminder. I got it. I remember now. Onward. Yeah. You know, it's like, dude, the amount of people, I think AA obviously and NA, like they're the 12-step program is the most successful route to battling addiction. There's some really good shit in there. The only thing that I don't like about AA and NA is the emphasis on their sobriety date. Because I've seen people with 10 plus years sober relapse, and then they go, well, I fucked the whole thing up.
Now I'm at zero,
and I got to give my damn coins back. And it's like, no, dude. Now you say, I've drank once in the last 10 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I've seen people, the guilt and shame because of the time they had logged. They feel like all that time doesn't mean shit now because I just relapsed. And it's like, no. No.
Yeah, dude. I felt myself, I mean, so right around the time you were in bed in Bali, on your deathbed in Bali, your life bed in Bali. Yeah, same kind of thing. I was going through a ton of shit. You know, the person that I leaned on the most in my business took a new job, which is going to be great for her. And I'm super stoked about her. And I fucked up some things in my relationship that took that off the table for me too. And literally within 2 hours, both of those things gone.
I didn't realize they were that close together.
I came back from lunch, which was the exit meeting from my head of operations, and
into that. Oh yeah, you did tell me this.
Yeah, so hell of an afternoon.
Yeah, solid one.
Yeah, solid one. And I remember I was on the phone with my mom, and went through a lot in those couple of days because I was like, okay, well, I need to be a different person professionally, and just like you said, like 3 days, no eating, feeling like there's not a worse person in the world. There's, you know, all the things. And I remember being on the phone with my mom, and I was like, these last couple of days have made me feel how fragile life is. And a lot of times it's easy to judge the dude on the street, the dude in jail, the dude in the penthouse, and all of these things. And I was like, you know, I'm feeling like I'm being pulled in a lot of directions right now with how I should deal with the fact that I've effectively got a clean slate right now. And it was not the preferable circumstance to get this clean slate.
Usually isn't. What we want, right. What we need. I've been saying this, what we want and what we need are very rarely on the same dance floor.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. And I was just like, I can feel how fragile this is, because if I decide to avoid this, like I usually do, and go out with the boys and go get fucked up and, you know, get real drunk, and somebody looks at me funny and I go drop them, and their head,
especially with the way you hit.
Yeah.
It'd be a huge problem.
Yeah. But and then their head hits the pavement, and now I'm 10 years. Mm-hmm. Right. Or I go and drive drunk, hit somebody, and fuck up my life and somebody else's life.
Even just get a DUI.
Just get a DUI. So I was like, I can feel how close all of these things are. Just like, they're right behind the bushes, and they're peeking their head up. And at the same time, across the street in the other bushes are all of the things where like, hey dude, you can make sure that you never hurt somebody like this again. You can make sure that you can put somebody in your business in a role where they're going to be thriving, and they're going to be, you know, like, so I just remember feeling like I was standing in the middle of the street and being like, I can go either direction right now, but I have to choose. Because if I just sit right here, then like, you know, nothing good is going to happen. and we're not going to go anywhere. And there was a moment when Alicia and I were in the middle of our breakup where I felt myself start to dissociate. And that's how I dealt with so many of the things growing up, because my dad and I would get in these huge blow up fights, and I would just numb to the world. And I'd be sitting there and I'd just cook up a one-liner. I'd be like, I'm just going to take this whole heat and then I'm going to drop this one on him and I'm out. And, not what a therapist would advise is a good way to handle conflict, but I felt myself start to go to that place. And I remember like consciously ripping myself back to reality, just like you're saying, where it's like, no, you have to feel this, because if you choose not to, then you're going to be in a place where you didn't learn the lesson. You didn't feel the thing. You didn't do all the things that are going to make sure that you don't feel this again. And instead of having it all at once and dealing with it when you're supposed to, how you're supposed to, you're going to deal with this shit for the next 20 years. You're going to make other people deal with it. And that's been one of the biggest lessons to me with this whole thing, is like, I think that honesty is a lot more of a unanimous, like all-encompassing thing than we give it credit for. We think it's just like, oh, tell the truth about whether you washed your hands after you pissed or not.
Right.
That's honesty. No, honesty is like being for real with yourself and being like, no, I fucked up, or I did really great, and I'm going to feel both of those things because I'm being honest about it. I'm super stoked that I just went on this tour, or I'm super sad that I just fucked up one of the best things that's happened to me. But you got to be there for it.
Yeah, dude. Like I told you, that day, the fact that you are the age you are and have the self-narrative and insights that you do is like, I just am so excited to keep knowing you and see what life has in store for you, because, essentially, you were presented with the good, the evil. Evil's way more fun. Just is. Sitting with a breakup, sitting with mistakes, regrets, unpacking them all, and then distilling it into, a potion of how to not do it again is not as fun as like, I'm just going to get hammered with my friends.
Yeah.
It just isn't. I commend you for that, because I know how hard that is, because I've been there. I've been there multiple times, and I eventually got to the good bushes, but definitely took a detour or two. Yeah, I think that's just it, man. I think you hit the nail on the head, is that the most important thing, it's just like that, having that reserve thing. It's like, I can't take care of a bunch of people if I don't take care of myself. My honesty to the world means nothing if I'm not honest with myself. And at the end of the day, I think that's why I like alone time, is because it gives me that time to check in. And like, at the end of the day, man, even if you're sleeping next to somebody, as soon as you put your head on that pillow, you start self-assessing. And if you're full of shit, bro, that's a rough ride. That's a really rough ride. Fuck, dude, I lied about this. I didn't show up for this, and I said I would, all of that shit. That, to me, is the slow death. That's what Go Fast, Don't Die is all about. Like, do not die that slow death, dude, of regret and complacency. It's like, we're only here for a little bit, and living a life where we're honest with ourselves about where we're at. Yeah, that's priceless, bro. Peace is priceless. That, to me, is success. Are you at peace with yourself when you lay your head down every night?
Is that how you would define success with the meditation and the thought that you've had about it over the last couple of weeks, or how do you define success with a lot of the shifts that you've had now?
Yeah, I think for me, it's freedom is a big piece of that, but realizing that it's like, yeah, dude, well, freedom is gooey. It's not a grabbable thing. Because ultimate freedom is like, that's also a fucking nightmare. Ultimate freedom would mean you're not beholden to your child at all. Well, Malachi, I'd like to show up as your dad, dude, but that kind of fucking encroaches on my freedom a little bit. You know what I mean? So it's like realizing that certain shit is malleable, but ultimately, yeah, man, to me, success is, I don't need anything. I don't want anything. And that in my yoga practice, or when I lay my head down, when I put my hand on my chest, I say, I love you, man. That I mean it. Because I never meant it before. I just always, I wouldn't even have fucking crossed my mind to even say that to myself. To even inquire. What the fuck you mean you love yourself? I love the person that I am. I love how I move around the world. I love how I treat people. I love how I show up. I love the father that I am. I love that I'm creative. Love that I'm good in the sack. I love, like go down the list, like, and mean it, because I think it's in our nature, which a big part of self-improvement, right, is like assessing issues. Well, where am I falling short? It's like, okay, well, to be a good man, you got to play that game a little bit, but it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope to that being your only self-talk, is finding those holes. And it's really important for me. It's the utmost important right now that I spend equal, if not more time taking an inventory of where I'm not falling short, where I'm appreciated, where I know I'm doing well,
Yeah. So it's cool. I just had a thought that, like, with you being in this phase right now, it's almost like being in a new relationship.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Like you just said, I love you for the first time,
Yeah.
So looking at, the next year, for people who are in that space, or they're about to ask themselves out on a date and figure out if they love themselves, what are the things that you look at over the next year of your relationship with yourself that can, like, continue to build that love?
Being present and looking forward and not looking back at all. I've spent so much time stewing over the past, where I could have done better, and guilt and shame. It's just, Brady calls that gas. Guilt and shame is not good fuel. And, just staying true to my practices that I'm in right now, and not getting complacent and being like, okay, dude, you're on a good track now, so let's quit doing all the things that have got you and kept you on this good track, so being accountable. But I think also knowing that it's going to feel unnatural, that it's not in my nature to give myself grace. So that's going to feel weird. It just is. And that it's a practice. The thing that I've loved the most about yoga is that it's hard. I feel like on Thursday before our private, was the first class that I went to where for like 80% of it, I didn't have to look up. I was like, oh yeah, I know this flow. And was like with my breath. And then I kind of left there being like, oh, I get why people love this shit. Like I just tasted it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and just recognizing that, that it's a journey, man. And that I'm a fucking human and you're a human and we're fallible. I'm not done making mistakes. I'm not done hurting people. It just is. It's just part of life. And a big one, like I said earlier, that I'm not responsible for anybody else's feelings, because I'm not a malicious person. I don't do anything out of malice. I don't do anything out of spite. So if me living the way that I'm living, saying no sometimes to preserve my tank, I'm not responsible for anybody else's feelings in that. Yeah, it's okay to say no. It's okay to have boundaries. That's a big one I think we all suck at.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And a lot of times it's, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
I see it in people close to us, man. I see it. I'm like, well, bro, even if your heart's in the right spot and you're doing dumb shit all the time, you're still doing dumb shit all the time,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. And I think for me, what's really exciting about this year for me is that I have stripped the schedule down quite a bit, have this solo spring tour, and then we'll do 2-week full band runs this summer. I think that's probably it. I probably will go to Australia again next fall. Did I tell you 3 of our top 5 cities are in Australia?
Crazy.
For streaming? It's fucking bananas.
Great reason to go back over.
I know, man. Well, it's just like, okay. I mean, every show has gone well too, so it's like have to. But yeah, I think that's another thing. Is like we're talking a lot about boundaries with other people and like when to say no. For me, career-wise, it's also a big thing. Me going and playing for people who already know who I am is not growing my business. So like getting on a big support tour, that will be a time to be like, yeah, bro, you're going to go hit it for 5 weeks and it's going to be hard, but it's a growth period, and realizing that. So it's like, I'm not going to work myself crazy this year. Mm-hmm. I want to work enough that I can keep the comfort level of life that I have, but that my relationship with myself, my peace, my spirituality, my physical and mental health is more important to me than anything, So yeah. I've never really had a balanced work life. In this year, I've kind of put my foot down of like, cool, we're done with 2025. What's on the calendar is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something for me too, where it's interesting being in a place right now where for the first time, I don't think that my goals for the year are going to be anything tangible, right? Like it's so easy to be like, this is what I want my monthly income to look like. This is what, I want my body fat percentage or my weight or all of these different things. And I think that there's value in having goals, right? Like I don't necessarily think that I'm going to get away from all of that, but it's the first time that the highest things on my ladder are things that are very hard to measure. It's like, when I walk into a room with my friends, what are their reactions when I'm there? Is it like, oh yeah, Drew's always busy and he's always got some shit going on, but we're glad that he can make it for this. Cause like, it's cool to be able to see him here and there. Mm-hmm. That's way different than like, bro, we're thinking about having this Christmas party. We really want to have you. What day is your schedule? Cause we need to make sure that you can be there in this whole thing. And the only way that you get there is by being present, and so to me, my goals this year are around, when I call my mom, what's the vibe? Mm-hmm. When I call my brother, how excited is he to see my name pop up on his phone? And those are the kind of things where before I kind of had this weird little pride in like, yeah, no, people just know that I'm busy and they know I'm out here hustling. So like, they must feel pretty grateful when I show up and make the time for them. Dude, that's not enough. Mm-mm. And it's also a really narcissistic, terrible way to look at the world.
Yes. And
so for me, it's interesting because it's really getting back to like, okay, what are the things that in my life that I 100% know that I want to be all in on? And then being honest with myself when I show up and be like, hey bro, you said this was one of the things, fucking show up.
Mm-hmm. That's right? What I had to do with yoga. Like we're going on like year 6, dude. Like either do it or don't say it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm proud of you too, bro, for, I know you're much like me, you could gather up a bunch of work, and going through a breakup and shit like that. I guess my first concern with you was that you would do that. Was you'd be like, okay, I'm gonna get real busy real fast. Because it's like, okay, well, here's this great distraction thing, and I'm being distracted and making money at the same time, so that's cool. I'm like taking my focus away from this and now building this, but it's like also, man, yeah, that replacing the work with work is not a good one. I've done that one too, bro, and that's that never ends well. You end up having a nervy breaky down in Australia. Yeah,
just a casual nervy breaky. Yeah, man. I wrote something the other day and it really hit me. And the way that it ended was quit letting hard work be the only thing you're working hard at.
Put that on a shirt, bro.
We hear all the time, bro, that it's, you're supposed to hit your 4 a.m. cold plunge and you're supposed to go work 12 hours a day and you're supposed to grind and do all this shit. And it's like, yeah, there's hard work that is to be done. But it's also hard work going home and being present and deciding to cook dinner with your partner instead of taking an extra hour to work. Like, nobody's going to give a fuck if that item on your to-do list isn't done tomorrow, but you can't fix the fact that you missed that present moment. That's gone forever. Like, it's hard work being present in those moments. It's hard work making sure that you're staying in touch with the people that you want to. It's hard work working on yourself.
Yep.
And like it or not, that shit's hard. And it's so easy to just let it go. And that's one of the biggest things this year is like, I let myself slide so much when it came to the personal stuff. Like, I was working really hard at the hard work, but everything else, I was just fucking packing it in, man.
Yeah, same, bro. I think for me, I just had a cool conversation with Summer about this. Is just, for me, previously, when stressed, when overwhelmed, when anything, it's like, okay, I'm going to put everything I have into weaponizing my body. Because I feel the best when I'm like, okay, we're 190 pounds, 3% body fat, and my jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai cannot be touched right now.
Got a mean head kick.
Yes, exactly, right? It was like all of the emphasis went on that, which is just really, again, another way of diverting. And I'm getting the demons out, you lifting weights all the time and training all the time, like it helps for sure.
Yeah.
But it can end up just being another distraction. And like this, I can strongly say that this is the first season of my life where I've been like, I mean, I still lift, but again, it's like, I don't need the David Goggins thing, dude. I don't need to look, you better get it, you little bitch. It's like, dude, I lift 6 days a week. Of course I'm going to go lift weights. Calm down. Yeah. Stop yelling at me. Yeah. I lift every day. We're not skipping the gym. I never do.
Yeah.
And like, just realizing like, I'm just so committed to, and how good it feels to be back in a, looking at my life and the world and my relationships and people through a spiritual lens again. And like we were talking about at lunch the other day, that Sonder. When you put a spiritual lens on Sonder, like, oh yeah, it's super complex that everyone is having their own experiences and things like that. No, what's super fun complex is we're all a bunch of souls driving meat suits with a skeleton, and we take everything so serious. That was what gives me Sonder, is that we're like, dude, it's the craziest thing in the world. But I say all that to say, it's been really refreshing for me to get out of the analytical and into the deep again. It's serving me in a really beautiful way, and I'm excited to see. I'm working on new music always, but yeah, I'm excited to see what we both make during this period. Because like, I feel like this is when the coolest shit goes, when you're like, well, I'm on some whole other shit right now. Yeah. It's like, okay, yeah. That's when the good shit happens. Because it's like, if you're on your bullshit all the time, that it's like, you know, roughly, survey says that you'll probably make shit that's kind of similar.
Right. Yeah, we got a new pack of crayons right now, baby.
For sure. For sure, the extended pack with all the weird fringe colors.
Yeah. The fucking sharpener in the back, dude. Oh, man. Well, dude, I'm super excited that our paths are kind of in a similar spot right now. And it's you've been a very good mentor and friend and just sounding board for a lot of this stuff. And it's very unique to find somebody who's, I think, creative and analytical and, you know, so many different things. I think that you're one of those walking paradoxes where it's not a but, it's an and with a lot of things.
Yeah.
And watching how you navigate the world is really helpful for me. And I think it's, you know, clearly helpful for a lot of other people, whether it's through your music or the words that you put out in the world or whatever. I'm just really excited that I get to benefit from that. So I think it's
same, bro. I get a lot every time. Yeah, I was actually just telling Parker that. I'm just like, man, every time I hang out with this dude, I just am like, fucking so glad I know you, dude. I'm so glad I know you. I'm so grateful for you. And yeah, same. Like, you're super inspiring to me, man. Again, I forget that you were in your mid-20s all the time. Because, you know, when I hang out with you, it's me, you, Townsley, Brady, like, you know, it's people that are close to 40, if not far past it. Mm-hmm. And it's never like, who's the kid hanging? You know, it's just like, you were right there on the fucking level. And I get so excited it's just like when we have a good fighter that's like 23, I'm like, oh God, dude, we have so much time. Yeah. But with you, I just am like, I'm so genuinely from the deepest depths of my heart, bro. I'm so excited to see what life has in store for you. You were fucking a mile ahead of everybody in the race, bro. And I mean it. Like I'm just so excited to watch your life unfold, bro, and be around for it and get to be a part of it. 'Cause yeah, you got a lot of beautiful shit coming your way, bro.
Thanks, man. I'm glad we're on the same relay team.
Yeah.
Running this race, sure. Baby. Let's do it. All right. Well, that's going to conclude our episode of Press for Presence today. Check out Satsang anywhere that you love listening to music. And yeah, be where your feet are, everybody. We love you.
Peace.